All right, so in this video, we have 4 objectives. We want to know what the slope of this equation is. We want to know what the x-intercept of this equation is. We want to know what the y-intercept is. And then we want to graph it. Those are our 4 objectives. So first, let's talk about this equation. It's a standard form equation. Okay, just exactly the same as we wrote it, ax plus by equals c. And what standard form means is you got x first, then y, then an equal sign, and then a constant. So here I got ax first, then y, then an equal sign, and then a constant. Okay? So let's first find what the x-intercept is. So the way you find the x-intercept is you plug a 0 in for the other variable, which is y. So I want to know what the x-intercept is, so I'm going to plug a 0 in for y. So I've got 2x plus, and then instead of y, I'm going to put a 0, equals 8. So notice, I want the x-intercept, so I put a 0 in for y. Now, 2x plus 0 is just 2x, equals 8. Then I'll divide by 2 on both sides, and so x equals 4. Now, I plugged 0 in for y, so when x is 4, y is 0. So I can make an ordered pair out of that. When x is 4, y is 0. Right? Remember our ordered pairs are x and then y? So I plugged 0 in for y, and I got 4 out for x. 0 in for y, and I got 4 out for x. So there's my ordered pair for my x-intercept. How do I know it's my x-intercept? Because I plugged a 0 in for y. Now let's find the y-intercept. So if I want the y-intercept, I'm going to plug a 0 in for x. So I've got 2, and in the place of x, I'm going to put 0, plus y equals 8. So notice, I plugged a 0 in for x, so I can find the y-intercept. When I wanted the x-intercept, I plugged a 0 in for y. So when you're finding the x and y-intercept, just plug 0 in for the other variable, the one you don't want. All right, so right here, 2 times 0 is 0. And 0 plus y equals 8. So I have y equals 8. And in my ordered pair, you can see right here I had x is 0. So I'm going to put for the x 0. And when x was 0, y is 8. So over here, right there, I've got the x-intercept. So I'm going to write that this is the x-intercept. And down here, I've got the y-intercept, so I'm going to write y-intercept. So we did 2 of them. We did the x-intercept. We did the y-intercept. Now we need the slope, and then we'll graph it. Now, this is in standard form, but if I want the slope, I need to get y by itself. Okay? I need to get y by itself so that it's in this form. Y equals mx plus b. Okay? This form right here is called the slope-intercept form, where remember what this form's called? Standard. That's right. This is standard. This is slope-intercept. Notice the difference in the two. This one has x first, then y, then an equal sign, and then a constant. That's standard. So I'm going to write up here, standard. Okay? Now this one has y by itself. When y is by itself, we call that slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form. Okay? And when y is by itself, the number next to x is the slope. Say it with me. When y is by itself, the number next to x, which is this, is the slope. The number out here by itself, that's the y-intercept. So let's say it again. This up here is standard form because it's in the form x, then y, then an equal sign, then a number. This down here is slope-intercept form because y is by itself. This is slope-intercept form because y is by itself. Now, when y is by itself, the number next to x is the slope. So we want to know what is the slope. See that right there? We want to know what's the slope. Well, let's just take this equation and get y by itself, and the number next to x will be the slope. So I'm going to rewrite the equation. 2x plus y equals 8. And I want to get y by itself. I want to get y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. Let me zoom in on it. And when I do that, I get y equals, and I like to write the x first and then the constant second. So you can see this is negative 2x, so I'm going to write negative 2x. And then this 8 is not negative. This negative sign goes with the 2. The 8 is positive, so here I'm going to put plus 8. Plus 8. So I converted this standard form equation into this slope-intercept equation. And remember, when y is by itself, the number next to x is the slope. So my slope, and m in math is the letter that means slope. Remember, mathematicians are lazy. They don't want to write out slope equals negative 2. They want to just put in m equals negative 2. So in math, remember that m means slope. All right, so we've got 3 pieces of information. We know the x-intercept here. We know the y-intercept here. And we know the slope right there. Now the last thing we've got to do is graph it. So my x-intercept, I'm going to write on my graph is 4, 0. That was my x-intercept. All right, and then you can see right here, my y-intercept is 0, 8. So I'm going to write it down right here, 0, 8. So now I need to graph these 2 points. I need to graph this point 4, 0 and this point 0, 8. So let's do this one first. Remember, I've got x and y, and my x-intercept comes first. So this 4, the x value tells me left or right. Since it's a positive 4, I go right 4 and up and down 0. So I go right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And remember, you always start in the middle. Right 1, 2, 3, 4, and up and down 0. So I'm going to put my point right there. So notice I went right 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up and down 0. Right 4, up 0. And then here I go right or left 0, and then up 8 because it's positive. If it was negative, I go down 8. So right or left 0. So I'm not going to go right any or left any, but I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to put my point right there. So this is the point 0, 8, and this is the point 4, 0. And then I'm going to graph the 2 with a straight line. I'm going to draw the line, and then I'll move it over there. So there's my line, and then at the end of the line, I'm going to put arrows. You always put arrows at the end of your line just to indicate that it goes on and on forever. All right. So let's look and see if we did everything we were supposed to. They wanted to know what the x-intercept was, and we found it was 4, 0. I'm going to write it right here, 4, 0. They wanted the y-intercept. We found out it was 0, 8. They wanted to know what the slope was. We found out it was negative 2, and they wanted us to graph it. We did everything we were supposed to. One piece of reminder, when you want the x-intercept, When you want the x-intercept, you plug 0 in, not for x, but for the other variable, y. When you want the y-intercept, you plug a 0 in for the other variable, so that would be x. So if I want the x-intercept, plug 0 in for y. If I want the y-intercept, plug 0 in for x.